Superstation gives you the flip side, the real side. This is our side.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show.
And good morning, Detroit. This is the Wayne Bradley Show. You're listening to your host, Wayne Bradley, and thanks for listening in today. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We're gonna talk about obviously what our president is doing right now and how he's dealing with. There was a lot of talk earlier this week with Rex Tillerson and the rumors of things he said. This summer. It's October now. I don't understand how that made the news today, this week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the NFL. Detroit Lions are playing this weekend, and there's going to be different groups of protesters out there. I think it's an interesting story of how the NFL's played out on this whole issue. At the Lions game this week, you're going to have protesters on one side of it who are protesting the fact that NFL players are protesting during the anthems. Apparently, there's some people who are also mad that some of the owners locked arms with some of the players. And then you also have a group of people that are there to protest to support the players and Colin Kaepernick. So I think that's a big issue of why this protest or whatnot has lost some of its meaning, and it's the whole what people are sitting and standing for and protesting for has changed. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Michigan State police officer that shared a Facebook meme that has somewhat caused an uproar, but at the same time, there's a freedom of speech issue that we're all losing sight of, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in the second hour. Then we're going to also have some folks come into the studio today around 6:30 and talk about an event here in Detroit that's honoring some of our finest African-American leaders coming up. So I'm looking forward to talking to some folks about that. So let's just kind of get started. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this, it being football season. The Lions are playing this Sunday, and I want to talk about these guys that are doing these protests, okay? So what you have now is, again, the Lions game is on Sunday, and you have some people there that are proud Donald Trump supporters. And I know some of these gentlemen that will be out there doing this. And this is where I feel like because the president kind of interjected himself into this issue, now you have his supporters who Donald Trump's probably not thinking much about the NFL anymore after 2-3 weeks ago when he made that called them SOBs and all that good stuff. The NFL at that time decided to take a stand or a knee, but it wasn't because of police brutality. It was because they were protecting their shield. They were protecting the brand of the NFL. A lot of these owners didn't want their players taking a knee, didn't want them participating in anything like that. And for the few people that did, it caught the ire of the president. It caught the ire of a lot of different other folks. And so now, here it is 2 or 3 weeks later where I feel like, even before the president said anything, there weren't a ton of NFL players at this point taking knees, probably out of fear of losing their jobs. They looked at what happened with Colin Kaepernick and said, you know what? I'll find other ways to be active, and I'll find other ways to use my platform because, a lot of these guys don't want to lose their jobs, and rightly so. So now we're in a situation where gentlemen are on both sides of the issue are showing up to the football games to protest. And I think that's what a lot of people have gotten frustrated about is because when you're watching the NFL and when you're watching sports, a lot of times people choose to do that to get away from whatever they're dealing with in their real life. They don't want to deal with politics. They don't want to deal. And so by nature of the fact they did it during the anthem, there were people that just wouldn't listen and couldn't understand why they would take the time to do that during the anthem or during the song. And so I think that that's what confused and blurred the lines for a lot of people. Now you have people that are willing to protest, show up to protest the guys that were protesting. And I question how many of these guys are really fans of the NFL in the first place, or they just, like I said, because Trump says something, they're going to say something. And I think there's more of that going on, in particular in Detroit, knowing the guys that I know that are coming out to protest the actual NFL players. When I hear them using the words like spoiled, entitled, lazy athletes, it lets me know there's something more there because when you're calling these athletes, in particular NFL players, lazy, it illustrates how much you don't know about how hard these men have had to work to get where they're at in the first place. Now, there is a component of being blessed with athletic ability that a lot of us just simply don't have. And so maybe that's an issue with some folks. But to me, everyone has a right to free speech. I've been in my own situations where people have asked me to step down from my job, try to get me in trouble because of Facebook posts. And I think that there's such this PC world we live in now where everything's got to be perfect and politically correct that it puts people in a bind. And even on their personal Facebook pages when they're just speaking their mind and they might say something that maybe you wouldn't put in an official statement or not trying to represent your organization, you find yourself in a tough situation. Now, I think this Michigan State police officer shared a meme, and it essentially called them ingrates and things of that nature. And again, as a police officer, your responsibility is to the greater good of the whole public. So if you're sharing that and agreeing with that kind of sentiment, it would make people a little nervous. And I think that is the discussion that the people need to have. Instead of just trying to call for this police officer to be fired, there needs to be a good discussion. And I thought that the Lieutenant Governor, Brian Calley, addressed it in a way where I'm sure everyone's not happy with the answer because I think that, I respect him for coming into last night. He was in Detroit talking about he was at a town hall forum hosted in Detroit at Second Ebenezer Church, and he said that he would not have fired the police chief, but maybe we need to have a conversation. Maybe there needs to be some more diversity training. That's already an issue at the Michigan State Police. So there were a lot of officers that were upset by what she shared, and I think that that's something you have to look at. If you have your own staff, your own black police officers that were bothered by it, I don't see how you can't think that there are people who aren't going to have an issue with it. But again, this was on her personal page. It wasn't like she shared it through the Michigan State Police page or something like that. This is her personal page. And so a lot of these different elected officials, they know her well, and they said that she's been an advocate for recruiting more minorities and more women, and I think that played a part in the decision-making process. I believe if that had been a white male who had made that statement, he might have lost his job, or at the very least have been, forced to apologize and take some kind of diversity training to help enlighten that person and give them more understanding of where these people are coming from. So we're going to talk more about that over the hour. Give me a call, 313-209-9000. I want to hear from you folks in Detroit about, do you think that people should be protesting the players for their initial protest, which was to bring awareness to police brutality, in which the issue I have is they did it peacefully. They didn't go and interrupt the actual game itself. I think that, unfortunately, the media and these different organizations have used this, again, as a way to promote, whether they like it or not, promote the NFL, now it's become an issue every week. Will they stand? Will they sit? Will they, play, and so now that's become another issue. I don't understand why they show that. It seems like to me, that would be a perfect time to either go to a commercial break or just focus on the person singing the national anthem instead of, scrolling through the whole bench and looking for players, because all it does is upset people at this point. Like I said, the guys that I know that are going out to this protest were some of the same gentlemen that were at the time looking for me to step down because I didn't support Confederate flags. So I find, there's a certain amount of irony that I see in this situation, that people are going to protest the protesters. And to me, I don't know if that's a way to grab attention or whatever the situation is, but to me, when you're going to be the protester to protest the protesters, I'm kind of confused. That's all I'm saying. I get that, again, people were mad that some of the players decided to do this during the anthem. But, again, that's what freedom of speech is all about. And I'm kind of consistent on the freedom of speech thing. I don't think that people should lose their jobs over free speech issues, whether it's at work or on social media, not long as it's nothing that was just, it's not going to cause violence. It's not going to bring total destruction. I don't think what that police chief said it didn't show a common understanding or a common ground as to why people were protesting in the first place. But it wasn't worthy of losing her job. I think that, there's a better way to do that. The same way I think that if the president had wanted to interject himself into that issue, what he should have done after that statement or after being in that scenario, he should have invited the NFL players to the White House. That's how you unify and bring people together. His base of supporters were more than happy to support the president saying these things. But to me, that's what he did it for. He didn't do it to make the NFL players stand up. He did it to connect with a certain group in his base, like the guys that are going to go out and protest the NFL players on Sunday. And then you got the guys that are supporting the right to protest and Colin Kaepernick. Well, what I'm going to keep saying at this point is now I would like to hear more from Colin Kaepernick, since they said he's still working out. The Tennessee Titans, as a football guy, they replaced Marcus Mariota, who got hurt this week. They replaced him with Brandon Weeden, a guy that is mediocre at best. His career record is not even 500. So, look at that. See, we start getting these lines going early when you start talking about this protest and all these different things. So we're going to talk with a couple of folks. We got people calling in already on these issues. And like I said, if any of the people that are listening that are going to be out there protesting, I'd love for you guys to call in and discuss the issue a little bit more. So we do have some folks, that wants to express themselves on this issue. So we're going to take, I think, Michael first. We're going to take Michael's call. Michael, thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem. So, again, to give you a little bit of my ideology, I am a Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams, small R libertarian, large R Republican. I basically vote for the party platform, not the people that run the party. Okay. I'm very disappointed with the current president, but when I look at the Republican Party's platform versus the Democratic Party platform, I got to vote party platform all day. Now, I brought that up to say the whole protest to me is encapsulated by what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said last year. She said that the protesters were dumb, the protesting was stupid, and she analogized it to burning the flag. Now, this is a very liberal Supreme Court Justice, Ruth Ginsburg, right?
Right.
And so the whole thing I thought about the flag is you didn't have to do it at the flag. And some people say it's a free speech right. It's once they put on the uniform, you don't have free speech at your place of business. So if the NFL, which they don't have a rule, but if they decided to have a rule that said that they had to stand, these guys can't say my free speech is being violated no more than I can say my free speech is being violated when I go to my employer if they tell me what uniform I have to put on. Right. So, and then the irony is the NBA already has a rule that you must stand, and that was
all back to Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Rauf back in the 90s.
Yeah, 95 it was.
Yep.
So it's kind of odd for them to say that Donald Trump is having a Kim Jong-un or or whatever type of dictatorship when basically he wants the NFL to adopt the same policy that the NBA has. So I just think that it was a miscalculation. The NFL, in my opinion, sold patriotism as part of its marketing to make money. Now, whether you think it's legitimate or not, that's what they did.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Defense Department was paying. I call it patriotism. That's what they were doing. I mean, they were. That's. I mean, to me, that's exactly what it is. It was patriotism, and so you had the Defense Department giving millions of dollars. Now, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I want you to think about that. Our tax dollars are going to the Defense Department, and then the Defense Department pays the NFL money just to have these patriotic displays, to have the planes flying over the stadiums, to do these anthems. And so that was part of their marketing scheme. So to me, they should have had that as part of their policy that you need to either stand up or do whatever you're doing because they're getting money for that. And so to me, like I said, when I'm looking at some of these guys that are showing up on Sunday, okay, and I'm not going to sit here and talk bad about these gentlemen because I think what our issue was, we kind of put it to rest. But it's the same guys that were protesting about me making an issue with the Confederate flag and how I wasn't going to support that, and they called for me to be fired. And so to me, it's a bigger issue with some of these guys about why they're speaking up, and they don't like. To me, I'll just be quite frank on that. I think they have an issue with some of these young millionaire African Americans speaking up in a way where they feel like, hey, they should just be happy that they had their millions. Why are they even getting involved in this? They're not oppressed. I've heard more guys say these millionaires aren't oppressed, but they're not necessarily speaking just for themselves. They're speaking for people that don't have that kind of platform. And so I think that, again, people are just misguided at this point of what they're mad about and who they're going after. If you want to be mad at somebody and you're this patriot or this conservative, you got to be mad that your tax dollars were going to the NFL in the first place to promote patriotism. And the players that decided to take a knee, most of them aren't doing it anymore. So I don't understand why they're showing up in mass force against a few players that are exercising their freedom of speech. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you that hypocrisy abounds.
I guess that's my issue is that hypocrisy is abound on all sides on this issue. The players miscalculated. I think they definitely miscalculated how upset some of these fans would be when they're burning their season tickets and burning $150 jerseys, $200 jerseys that they pay for, which I think is pretty, again, silly because a lot of these guys are going to be back in love with their football team within the next 6 months to a year and mad that they're going to be mad that they burned up those jerseys, Michael. That's my opinion.
Well, no, I agree with you, but here's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. Here's what we're going to find out, and I've said this before. Black America cannot support the NFL. It's no slight to our black brothers and sisters, but we do not have the finances or the resources to support the NFL. 77% of the NFL is still supported by white males. And so all they're saying is okay, you want to show your power and protest, well, we're the one who's paying the freight.
Right.
So if we are the ones who pull back, we will see who the NFL bows to. Are they going to bow to us who pay the freight, or are they going to bow to those who are the players? Because here's what I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the players really were committed, they could have missed preseason games. Not one player missed a preseason game. Here's something else I thought they could have done.
Mm-hmm.
They could have pulled their money. They could have pulled their money together and took out ads in all of the big newspapers and saying, we see that there's injustice that we're trying to fight, and we are putting these ads in every major market to let you know our displeasure.
Right.
There are 1,000 ways they could have did it away from the flag, and I just felt like they picked one of the money makers. And you're right. I'm disgusted that our tax dollars were spent on these flags. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. I think it's something like $7 billion of taxpayer dollars
stadiums
that went to build these stadiums.
There you go.
I'm disgusted about that too, brother.
And then the other irony is the NFL is considered a nonprofit. It was a nonprofit organization. That's what's even more.
Wow.
That's what's even more amazing about all this. And so I think there's enough hypocrisy to go around. There's enough to spread around. I think that the players, like you said, they could do more activism on their off days, whether it was putting ads in papers, whether it was getting involved in the different communities and being more hands-on on that approach. I was okay with raising awareness. Now you've raised awareness. What are you going to do next? And like you said, when you have a lot of the players, and this is the real challenge, when you have a lot of the players that are taking a stand but not doing anything else after that, it loses its kick. And now you're in a place where people are just arguing over personal feelings, and it's unfortunate because I think there was an issue they should have been covering.
If I can make one last point, right?
Go ahead, Michael.
Colin Kaepernick said, I will not stand until America has gotten better. That's what the man said.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's saying that if he had a job, he would stand. So is Colin Kaepernick telling us that Donald Trump's America is better than Barack Obama's America? That's just another part of the hypocrisy I want us to ponder. Thanks, brother.
Thank you for calling. Thanks for calling in, Michael. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Yeah, like I said, there's so many levels of different angles of hypocrisy on that. We're going to bring in, we got Eric on the line. Eric, thanks for calling in.
Hi, how you doing today?
All right, how you doing?
I don't understand where people say Colin Kaepernick hypocrisy, because what he did was he said and he put his money where his mouth is.
Right.
He donated $1 million
mm-hmm.
of his own money to cause. So he put so in the whole, and we keep on forgetting about what the whole protest was about. The whole protest was about police brutality,
right,
and injustices in the criminal justice system.
Right.
So what Colin Kaepernick did was have Know Your Rights campaign. So he educated people on their rights with the American justice system. So he did do what he had to do. He put his money where his mouth is and did what he had to do. But I also want to talk about the Michigan State police officer, Amanda Christine QBT. I'm one of your Facebook friends, Wayne.
Okay.
And I have seen you support Colin Kaepernick. You support him, Newman.
Right.
I've read closely. So basically, what she is saying about you is that you are an ingrate who hate America. She said, "Dear NFL, we will not support millionaire ingrates who hate America."
Right.
So does she support people who are not millionaires, who are against who kneel too? I doubt it. I doubt it. She supports. So she's calling you an ingrate. She's calling me an ingrate, and she's saying that we are ungrateful and arrogant and anti-American. How can you have a Michigan State police commander feeling that way about a large percent of these people are black people who feel this way about Colin Kaepernick's thing. They feel that America has not been whole, it has not been great to black people. So basically, she's calling black people ingrate and arrogant, ungrateful, and anti-American because we believe.
Well, I didn't take it that she's calling all black Americans that way. I think in particular, and like I said, I'm thinking they're talking about black athletes, and I think that's crazy to them when they call them lazy, and that's what I'm saying. It's a deeper issue with a lot of these folks than it just being standing up for the flag. That's why. That's my personal opinion on it.
Wayne, you can't divide athletes and also with the people who also agree with what they're doing. You can't divide it. You cannot tell me that she thinks differently with athletes and then
I mean, I don't know what she thinks personally, but I mean the focus has been on athletes doing it, okay? Like I don't ever see people I don't see anybody criticizing just your average activists for going out and standing up for, they're not criticizing NAACP members or Jesse Jackson or any of these people. They're criticizing what they interpret as privileged athletes. Huh?
Wayne, you know that's bullcrap. You know people from all. I was at a.
Listen, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about with these anti-protesters, how they look at it. I'm not talking about how the average person, the thinker, should be able to look. I'm talking about how people who are definitely just against them taking this position during the time of the anthem and the flag. And I'm not saying it's okay. All right, I'm just making sure I'm making sure you're clear with that. I'm not defending that, but what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, these people never were going to listen to what Kaepernick or anybody else was saying because they took it as an affront to hating the country, which I think is ridiculous. I think that's a ridiculous.
How could you not say that she's the same way? How could you not say?
Well, this is my point. The difference is, this is the thing, though. You're missing the opportunity to have a conversation with this police chief. I mean, I'm not supporting that, but I think that again, because the people that are in charge, Governor Snyder, and the people that they know her, they have a different relationship with her, and she has. Again, I'll say this: if this wasn't a woman, if this had been a white man police chief, he probably would have been reprimanded or fired. But you're going to have some slack, when it comes to this because it was a woman.
I don't think that's true. I think.
Well, I mean, she hasn't been reprimanded. She hasn't even had to apologize, and I don't think you would have this scenario.
Apologize.
She said she shouldn't have basically put it on her page. She regrets that it got shared. That's different than saying you're actually sorry for doing it. Okay, and so to me, again, I think that it was poor taste. It was poor decision making to share something like that on your page, knowing who you are as the police chief or the state police in Michigan, and knowing that somewhere down there someone's going to see that and report it. In fact, it was black police officers from the Michigan State Police that were the ones that put that out there. Like, look what our police chief just posted, and so.
Exactly. And Wayne, you have black police officers
that are suing
who feel that the Michigan State Police is not a fair police department.
Right.
You have lawsuits against them.
No, I know. This is why you take this opportunity to talk to her.
And then she does this. So that just also puts the Michigan State Police Department in a bad light when you already have
no question about it,
discrimination charges against that department.
No, I mean it's not helpful to the cause. Right, no, it's not helpful in any kind of way. And like I said, I'm just saying that nowadays it's hard to people are wanting to get fired for exercising their free speech. I think that just like her, people's free speech, there are consequences to it. I don't know if it necessarily meant losing their job, but I think that, like Brian Calley said yesterday, you're losing an opportunity, or take that opportunity to educate and to really have a discussion. Now, will it help in that scenario? I don't know, but I think that you can take some of these opportunities and make them learning experiences, even for the people that were wrong in posting what they said or making the proclamations that they made. So,
how much education does she need? The education should have been when the Black Michigan State police officer said that department has systematic racism. That should have been her learning experience. And then she does this. And then she does this bull with writing that statement. She's just adding fuel to the fire by doing that.
No, I agree. It doesn't help. I'm not defending that, Michael. Eric, I'm not defending that.
Yeah. It's not helping the situation. She has to go. She's not helping the situation. She has to go.
Okay.
She has to go. No doubt about it. And we're going to make her go. So
all right.
October 16th, we're going to be marching on that, and we're going to make her go. She's going to be gone. Trust me on that.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric, for calling in. I appreciate your insight on this issue. And thanks for listening to the Wayne Bradley Show this morning. All right. Well, there you go. You have people already. And like I said, that's going to be a tough issue. We're going to go to a break. You're listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 910 AM, your superstation.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Political Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Political Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show.
910 AM Superstation. When you're looking to hear the truth, we talk about it.
Because here's the thing. If you really want to know the truth about it, downtown, midtown, Corktown, Techtown, all those towns are already cooking. They're already gone. They're gone. And the bottom line right now is when I look around Detroit, I look at it being gentrified. I look at black folk being pushed out. I look at black schools closing down. I look at black business owners being pushed out. I look at black residents, even senior citizens who've been here for 40 and 50 years being pushed out of their homes. They're doing it by way of overtaxing them down at the county taxes. They're doing it by way of turning the water bills up high. And what I'm saying to you is we need people to not say we're fighting. We need people to win.
This is Radio Our Way, the Detroit way. Every weeknight at 9 p.m. is something new and something fresh.
This is Todd Corser, and I want you to check out my show. Listen in and call every week as we explore government and hot topics. Tune in, raw and uncut.
This is attorney Michael Schwartz at 910 AM Superstation, and you can hear me every Tuesday night starting at 9 p.m.
Hello, Detroit. This is attorney Crystal Crittenden, and please tune in to my new show, The Truth Matters, on 910 AM Superstation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Mitchell, your host of Mind Your Business. Listen to my show live every Thursday from 9 to 11 p.m.
I'm Reverend Maya Lisa Reynolds, inviting you to listen to Mama Maya Speaks Friday evenings from 9 until 11 p.m., discussing education, motivation, and inspiration on Superstation 910 AM.
Different names, different voices, but the same energy. 910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit.
A real extraordinarily tragic. 50 people dead, at least 50 dead, and more than 200 injured on the Las Vegas Strip in the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history. And we just keep going through these incidents where people go off their nut for whatever reason and start firing randomly into the crowd. It's the most terrifying situation you can imagine. People who had recorded this on their cell phones, it was just, as you can imagine, a panic. Appears to have been an automatic weapon. I don't know that we've seen that before. I mean, we've seen semi-automatic weapons that often get mischaracterized in the media as automatic weapons, but this was clearly from the clip. He was shooting a machine gun, or at least a weapon that had been modified to fire like a machine gun.
Yeah, and the police are reporting there were multiple weapons.
910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. Hey, if you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And you know.
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something that you love doing so much, but I appreciate it.
The voice of Detroit, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. 910 AM Superstation is in a league of its own. We are the only talk radio station in the Metro Detroit area sensitive to the African American community.
Make sure you join us on what station?
910 AM the Superstation.
910 AM.
910 AM.
On 910 AM Superstation.
910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only African American based talk radio station. There's always something new to talk about, and 910 AM Superstation wants to have you covered from every angle. So we're adding some familiar voices and strong opinions to the best talk radio station in town.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Riley, and I'm so glad to be joining the family at 910 AM Superstation. We're going to be talking about it all Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Don't miss it.
910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show.
And good morning, Detroit. You're listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 910 AM, your superstation. We're back, and we're talking. We were just talking about the boycotts that are going to be happening at the Lions game this weekend. At some point, I'm going to look forward to talking to Chief Craig about this because, I mean, you got to think that the security and the way they're going to have to handle this situation is going to be kind of tricky. You've got two different sets of protesters at these games, and to me, that's interesting. I want to hear from the folks that are listening in. Call in 313-209-9000. Let me know what you think about these different groups of folks going to protest at Lions games. And we're going to talk a little bit more about these gun rights. I wish that we had one of our gun experts on here right now to talk about this bump stock and the things that these different ways you can doctor your guns to make them more powerful. In particular with the bump stock, because President Obama and his administration actually approved that. So I would love to hear why it was approved then, and now you even have the NRA that's willing to reconsider their position on that. And, you know, you have some of these gun rights. I mean, you have these gun right activists that are disappointed in the NRA for, you know, what they consider selling out on the issue. And I think that is where you're going to have a lot of problems with gun rights. And a lot of these different issues is that there does not seem to be a lot of room for compromise because people believe that once you start compromising just a little bit on your gun rights, you have the potential to lose them all. So there is a paranoia that goes along with that in terms of not wanting to give up an inch because they feel that the government in turn will take it all. So I think that is something that people are going to deal with. Did people see that I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that the president had visited Las Vegas, and there was some touching stories about how one of the victims, even in his hospital bed, got out of bed and stood up and met the president. And I think that, the president's been doing a good job. He got to Las Vegas pretty quickly and touched down in the area. But I question and I ponder what laws or what could you do to legislate that could have changed that scenario? And I come up with an empty answer because I just don't know what you would do to prevent these kind of things from happening if we're just talking about writing laws. It's almost impossible to legislate morality, to legislate people having common sense. And the fact is that when people want to do evil and do bad things, there's no law that's going to get in the way that's going to prevent that from happening. So to me, this is a tough situation of, this is a bad guy, and we got to deal with the bad guy accordingly and be on the lookout for other bad guys. But I don't think that you should create laws that are going to make it harder for what I consider the good guys and law-abiding citizens to be able to protect themselves. And this is where, again, where gun rights advocates and gun control advocates are kind of, like I said, there is no compromise, and I don't know where you can go with that. I really don't. And so, those are the kind of things that people are going to have to talk about and have the bigger discussion. We just had a bunch of people calling in talking about the NFL issue. And yesterday, Colin Kaepernick once again didn't get picked up by a team that runs an offense that their starting quarterback is in a similar skill set as theirs, which is Marcus Mariota. So I don't think at this point, I just don't think Colin Kaepernick is getting back into the league. To be quite honest, I think that's unfortunate because there's at least 3 or 4 teams that could use a veteran quarterback, a veteran presence, some leadership in there, whether it's in the locker room. But I would question how much people want his style of leadership and what he stands for in their locker rooms. That really goes more for the NFL owners than it is necessarily the players. I think the players respect Colin Kaepernick, and again, I don't know if the owners just they don't want to deal with that. There's also talk that our president plans to decertify the Iran nuclear deal. That is a big deal. He has said from the beginning he thought that was a bad deal that America got into. And this kind of goes along the lines of dismantling most of the things that his predecessor, President Obama, had put in place. I think that there's always a hint of political gamesmanship in the things that my president does when he's looking at his agenda. Part of his agenda is, getting rid of the bad policies that he believes that President Obama put in place, whether it was through legislative or executive order. A good portion of Donald Trump's presidency so far has been writing, executive orders that kind of cancel out some of the things that President Obama did in his terms. Now, in terms of regulation, I think that is a good thing. I think that we have entirely too much regulation. We've got some calls coming here. Be patient. We're going to get to these calls here very shortly. The call-in number is 313-209-9000. I hear someone. Be patient with me. We're going to be getting to those calls very shortly here. Do you think that President Trump is going out of his way to erase the Obama legacy with some of these executive orders that he's taking? I think the Iran deal in general was not a good deal for America. It negotiated away a lot of the rights that we had in dealing with Iran, and they're going to continue building their nuclear weapons. So I think that reviewing that deal is probably prudent. And I apologize for my caller that's calling in here. Just be patient with me. We're going to get to you here. 313-209-9000. Again, that number is 313-209-9000. And I apologize there for my caller that we lost the call. We're going to call back in a second here, and we can talk about is Donald Trump and his the way he's moving with his agenda. Is it good for America? Is it more the fact that he's erasing some of the president's agenda? I'd like to hear what the listeners of Detroit have to say, because a lot of the things that President Obama did with his agenda, I don't know if I would consider it America first. I don't know if a lot of those things were done with more of a global perspective, and sometimes the global perspective is not necessarily putting America first. And that was one thing the one thing I do really appreciate about this president in terms of his policies. He's putting the American people first, not necessarily corporations, because I assume a lot of the corporations were okay with the way global business is being done because it saves them money having people working in Mexico and India and all these places. And, we outsource a lot of our work. And President Trump said that he was going to stop making it so advantageous for companies to do that. And I think that's a good policy. Why not make responsible, corporate citizens out of America? If you lower those tax burdens, I think that then you would have more and less regulation. I think that you would have more business in America. There's no reason that Burger King moves to Canada unless your tax rates are too high, unless it's just not advantageous. So whoever there was calling, I want you to give us a call back, 313-209-9000. We did miss a call there, and I apologize on that, but I want you to give us a call back so we can talk about the issues and tell me, do you think that is the Iran deal, is that a bad deal? Is America shortchanging itself, and is Donald Trump getting this situation together by decertifying it? That is a big deal right now. And again, earlier in the week, General Mattis in D.C. took the position that he wanted to keep the Iran deal. So you have some different opinions on that issue. So it's interesting to see that even in his administration there are some differing opinions. And okay, so we're also talking about the fact that he said that Iran has not lived up to its end of the bargain, and I think that that's a big part of it. We know that Iran hasn't lived up to his part of the bargain the same way North Korea hasn't lived up to his part of the bargain. These are people we can't really trust, and so I don't trust them, and I think that President Trump is correct for not trusting them as well. And so we're going to go to Gary. Gary's on the line. Gary, thank you for calling to the Wayne Bradley Show today.
How you doing?
All right. So
we need to be at least honest with the people. Mattis said yesterday, and everybody, all of the experts have already said, this is an idea to appease your voters. He's really not decertifying the deal. What he did is he's going to sign something and then throw it to Congress, and everything else is going to be the same. Let's be honest here now. He's not decertifying that deal. He's not, and I know he's not.
Well, I think he's going to make some modifications to it. That's his issue.
Yeah, but you know what happens is people just count on voters to be ignorant. And now his voters are going to actually run around and think he actually did it when he did not do it. He could have flat out decertified the deal and it's a done deal and start from scratch. He don't want to do that. So now when he go on the stump, he'll tell, you see what I did? And those folks don't even have, I'm not going to say that. Those folks won't look and find, I don't want to call people, ignorant means you just don't know, but sometimes people don't want to know.
Yeah, there is a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference. And you're using he's not decertifying anything.
Well, I'm going by, and I will agree with you to say that he's not going to decertify the entire deal, but that's the language, and this is the language that CNN is using to get people to click.
Use the language,
huh?
Fox used the language.
Well, I mean, to me, the media wants us to click on their articles. They want us to watch TV, and so they have to use that kind of language to get people to pique interest.
How about let's do your homework and find out what's really happening? And these folks down there, these folks are going to jump, and they're going to. I've never seen a guy that won the presidency going around having pep rallies. But these guys.
Wait a minute now. Let's be fair. Let's be fair here. His style is pep rallies, but President Obama used to go out and he didn't go to pep rallies, but he did a lot of media rounds on whatever the issues were, and that's why a lot of times he would tick off Republicans because he would go to the media and complain about what he couldn't get done behind closed doors and dealing with the Congress.
There's nothing wrong with going. There's nothing wrong going to the American people.
Well, that's what Trump is doing too. I mean, he's not.
I understand that, but you sitting here saying he did not decertify anything.
I'm just telling you, I'm going by what I'm reading, just like everyone else. I agree that
you're a learned man. You know better than that. The same deal that was in place Tuesday will be in place Monday coming up because he changed nothing. He didn't change anything with that deal. And then when you talk about, and I hear these people talking about bringing jobs back to America, well, the man just filed for the visas for bartenders and those sort of things. Those kind of things, when you ask for that, it's supposed to be jobs that are not readily available to get people in the United States. His daughter, when you talk about putting pressure on other people to bring their businesses back to the United States, he won't do it. He likes cheap labor just like the rest of them. Right. But you know what? He'll stand there and speak about it, and his followers are really definitely, it makes common sense for you to say, okay, if he's sitting there saying that, let me see what he's doing with his company. Oh, they don't want to hear that. Right. They don't hear that. And when you talk about getting rid of all of the policies of Barack Obama, a lot of them I didn't like. But let's just be honest. This man flat out said the man wasn't legitimate. He wasn't supposed to be in. He is not a United States citizen. Straight out racist. You know, but I don't hear no, what they call the black Republican. They don't. You know what you all say? Oh, that's Donald style. That's Donald Trump style. Style nothing, man.
Well, listen. You talking about you going back to the birth? You talking about all the birther stuff? I assume you're talking about. Yes,
sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, a lot of Republicans did not sign on with that. I think that's
Did you sign on?
No, of course not. Why would I? Okay. Why? No, I mean, I don't. To me, he won, and and the irony of the whole birther issue is that Hillary Clinton was the person that started this whole discussion. Okay, it wasn't Donald Trump, because it happened during it happened during the primary. You got to at least be honest with yourself. You got to at least be honest with yourself. Donald Trump didn't start it.
All of that,
right?
Yeah, I know. So in other words, if my neighbor does something dumb and I pick it up, it's not my fault; it's his fault.
No, I'm just pointing. What you're looking at is the origin of the problem. It wasn't a Republican issue. It wasn't a Republican issue. It was
national.
Mm-hmm.
He took it. You can come on.
Well, Hillary Clinton didn't take it. Hillary Clinton didn't take it national when they were running for president.
Oh, they tried it, and then they found out, well, that's a dumb idea. But this man...
Well, she's the creator. She's the creator of the dumb idea. She has to take some ownership to that.
So if my neighbor does something
if
dumb,
your neighbor does it first...
And I pick it up and do... Oh, if he does it first, it's all right for me.
What I'm saying is that person is the creator of that problem, and you just made it a bigger problem. And that's what Donald Trump did.
So in other words, when he kept harping on it, he had free reign to do that, so because Hillary did. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I didn't say he had free reign to do it. I'm essentially saying that he followed behind the same bad advice that Hillary Clinton did when she decided to even make that an issue. I mean, that's just what it came down to.
So what does that say about him if he's following bad advice?
I mean, to me, it was going after a segment of people that might believe that was the case. I mean, you got to remember, her roots come from the same place. Bill Clinton comes from Arkansas. He knew the game. They knew the game they were playing. You know, him and Kennedy said that a couple years ago, this guy would have been bringing us our coffee when he was talking about Obama in 2008. So I'm not going to sit here and defend either one of them.
Let me explain something to you. I'm not in love with Hillary Clinton. I think she was an awful candidate.
Right.
But when I hear people, every time he does something dumb, here's what that's his style.
I mean, I think it's subjective when you start calling what he's doing dumb, because I think a lot of it has been calculated and strategically done, and
I agree. So I agree there, because you know why?
He's a marketing guru. He's a marketing genius.
And he has a legion of people that were just besides themselves when there was a black president. You know that, and I know that. And they love that kind of talk.
Well, I think that's, to me.
Right or wrong?
No, I agree. I think that right now that is where you're finding the issue of where people are mad about these NFL players. Now, the guy that I know personally that's leading this charge at the Lions game, I feel like they don't have anybody else. They're not being mad at Obama anymore. So let's be mad at the brothers playing in the NFL.
You know. So and here's what they did. They sit there and they abducted the whole me. These people.
Yeah, no, the movement of the original reason has been totally wiped out, and now it's the NFL versus Trump and Trump supporters versus NFL players. I mean, it's just totally.
If you listen to Fox, they'll say, "Well, they're disrespecting the flag." It had nothing to do with a flag. It had nothing to do with.
And Gary, I'm gonna tell you this: I gave up trying to. When I was discussing it, when I would consider some pretty moderate Republicans, they didn't understand that either. So I think that at this point, I'm gonna move on from that. But I think that it's just interesting to see how the movement has changed. But thank you, Gary, for calling in. I do appreciate you calling in, my friend.
Don't forget the jobs that he's supposed to be bringing, and his company won't do it themselves.
All right, fair enough. All right, we've got Al on the line. Al, thanks for calling in. I think we missed you the first time. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, what's going on, Wayne?
Hey, man, I got something to say, Wayne. You a history guy, man, Wayne?
Yes, sir.
So you know about Reconstruction. You know about
Thomas Miller,
his appeal to the Southern Carolina congressman,
right?
Who said we were 8 years in power,
and all of the things that they did before
what's the president
before he signed off on Reverend P. Hayes signed in and did the deal,
and guess what came in? The good old thing we call Jim Crow.
Right.
Wayne, it's funny that you said, well, Hillary started.
Yeah, she started it, but this guy said I got people all around, Hawaii saying that he wasn't born here. And I know the segment of people that believe that best. I don't criticize people, but I tell people the sad part about America is how much true history do some of these people know. Well, Wayne, now you interact with a lot of conservative people.
Right.
You would take that.
A lot of stuff they don't know about history of America.
They don't even know about the doctrine of exclusion.
Now you know what the doctrine is.
Yeah, and I think that I think that a lot of these folks don't read. I mean, I'll just be honest. It's a lot of stuff is tucked away in these history books, and folks don't want to read it, and they don't want to talk about it. Right? They don't even want to talk about it.
These people, come on, man. You went to Mumford. You know the analogy of people who go to DPS schools.
Right.
You have these people in the suburban area or outlying areas of this metropolitan area don't think African American people are smart. But when you give up good history, think about this. Let's think about this. Well, everybody upset about the flag. Now, the flag, it has rules for the flag. There's certain things you don't even supposed to do with the flag. You got people around here wearing the flag. Now, that's against.
Oh yeah, the federal code on this, on how you shouldn't wear the flag. You shouldn't do anything. You shouldn't even fold it or roll it up or anything. There's a whole bunch of stuff that if we're basing it off of that, every time would be a violation.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, Wayne. For most of these people who saying that this man is disrespecting the flag, they don't even have true sense of sense. Now, I threw some stuff out there. I threw out the Congressman Thomas Miller. I threw out the doctrine of exclusion. You get a guy like Walter. You get a guy like Tim. You try to tell them to read some books. They'll run around talking about the left. Me personally, man, let's just be honest with ourselves. Do those guys even know who the Redcoats was? Do they even know who the Scallywags were? This is the thing. I'm hearing one guy, Walter, calling in talking about he a Bible thumping guy, but and I know that Samuel told the Israelites, you don't want no king, because if you get this king shot, you gonna have your people going out there. Now, when I kick this knowledge to that clown Walter, the truck driver, I'm taking it there, and then you get your guy Tim.
You guys, man, you guys are funny, man. Everybody doesn't get along with each other.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Right.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but just think about what I'm saying. I'm kicking knowledge, but these guys are trying to debunk. I'm gonna tell you this. When President Obama had his correspondence deal and he went off on Donald Trump has been infuriated to make sure that he wipes that legacy away. Now, I'm going to be honest with the last caller. I wasn't geeked about all the legislation that he got passed. Right. But to say that this man didn't exist and question his education, come on, man. I will fairly say that Donald Trump probably wasn't the smartest guy in college because of even way he talks to people.
you know, you can tell, but this guy got a master's degree, but yet still, does he sound like a learned man when he communicates with people?
Well, you know, I think that's the New York. I think that's some of the New Yorker thing.
Well, it's not a man. Come on, we know people from New York who are highly educated, man.
Hey, but listen now, I do appreciate your perspective and calling in and actually dropping knowledge on that. So if you can, man, appreciate.
Well, this is the book I want people to read.
Go ahead.
White Wealth, Black Labor. Dr. Claude Anderson, White Wealth, Black Labor. I want people to read that book so they can start to get an understanding of how this church is up. And Wayne, I know you're conservative. I know, like I said, we had that conversation back at the print shop, but I want people to realize, Wayne, I'm not knocking you, but remember, the whole reason for the protest was police violence.
Exactly.
That was about the flag. And guess what? The person who told him to take a knee was an Army veteran.
No question about it. He's the one that told him how to do the protest. I agree.
Yeah. Because think about it. When you give a knee up, man, it's just like you propose to your wife. It's just like if you get
It's the ultimate sign of submissiveness. You're submitting yourself. You're not trying to do anything.
My point is that
so I get it.
People running around talking about don't take your knee. They clowns, man. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You have a good morning, bro.
Thanks a lot, Al. I appreciate it. All right. So we're about to go to the break here on the Wayne Bradley Show. We'll be back with our callers on the break. But thanks for listening in. We'll be back after the break.
Giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative, let it go radio.
There's always something new to talk about, and 910 AM Superstation wants to have you covered from every angle. So we're adding some familiar voices and strong opinions to the best talk radio station in town.
I'm Republican, from Detroit, and I'm black. Yeah, that's right. Different perspective, different view. Don't miss the Wayne Bradley Show on Superstation 910 AM.
From 7 to 9 a.m., we'll have the editor for the Detroit News, Nolan Finley.
This is the most volatile time in the country in my professional career. And, you know, that generates a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about.
Followed by the one and only David Alexander Bullock from 9 to 11 a.m.
The People Show, man, we bring it to you live and in full effect.
The always insightful and controversial Steve Niebling from 11 a.m. to noon.
And I do want to hear from you what you want to hear from me.
Bankalay Thompson from noon to 2 p.m.
This is the platform where we delve into the facts and informed opinion. We ask the tough questions.
The Cliff Russell Show from 2 to 4 p.m.
I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care.
Spud from 4 to 6 p.m.
Detroit's only African-American talk station, 24/7 Spud, is here.
Rochelle Riley from 6 to 7 p.m.
I want to stress that this adventure is about life in Detroit and Michigan.
And Cliff Woodards from 7 to 9 p.m.
So this is it, y'all. We are the only talk radio station for African-Americans in this market.
910 AM Superstation, the only African-American talk radio station in town. 910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. 910 AM Superstation gives you the flip side, the real side. This is our side.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station. You're listening to 910 AM Superstation, Detroit's only urban talk radio station.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative, let it go radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative, let it go radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up.
And welcome back to the Wayne Bradley Show here on 910 AM, your superstation. Wake up, Detroit. We've been talking politics for the last hour. We got Keith on the line right now. Keith, welcome to the show.
Hello?
Hey, Keith, welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in.
Okay, how you doing?
All right, how you doing, sir?
I noticed something about you and Walter. As soon as somebody says something that you don't like about about Donald Trump, you say, well, Obama did it. Let me tell you what Obama did. Obama's not in office right now, so there's no point in even talking about Obama. He's not in office.
I don't constantly think, wait a minute. Me and Walter are two different individuals. I know you guys like throwing all black conservatives in one little bunch, but I don't say that for everything that Donald Trump does. Oh, this is what Obama did. I actually agree with you. I think that that's almost a childlike way of making comparisons. But at the same time, you guys, when I say that, I might say when it's just something that's totally like it's not a big deal. And if Trump does it, it's a big deal. But if Obama did it, it's not. And that goes back to every president. Every president you have, you usually compare something to their predecessor. Why is it that he gets a special pass on it, and we shouldn't compare anything to President Obama? But when he was president, he blamed everything on George Bush. It took his first 4 years before he stopped blaming him.
The last guy was right. He said that Donald Trump tried to undo Obama's legacy completely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he tried to appeal the insurance. You know, and I mean Donald Trump don't have sense enough to appeal it. He can't even he doesn't even know how to even get the economists and the CPAs to appeal it.
Well, I think that his challenge, he's learning on the job like a lot of other people are, and I don't think that his whole idea is to eradicate President Obama's agenda. I think he has.
That's the Republicans said it. They said our policy is going to be to try to see to that you get nothing passed.
So are Democrats doing that right now to President Trump? Is that fair to say that they're doing the exact same thing to President Trump? Because they're not the Democrats in the House, the Democrats in the Senate. They're not cooperating.
The Democrats are not in control. They can't do.
Wait a minute, but they can work with the president, in particular in the Senate. They can definitely work with the president, and they've been very reluctant or shown little to no appetite of working with the president because they don't want him to have a successful agenda. So is that the question I ask you? Is that politics as usual?
Even the what was it? The New York Times. What paper was that? Even the paper said that Donald Trump is a clown. He's just.
Is that objective? Is that objective journalism, or is that again feeding into a certain group of people that want to hear that kind of rhetoric about the president? That's to me. I mean, that's not even. That's not objective journalism. Calling the president of the United States a clown.
You do a good job of trying to carry Donald Trump's water. You do a good job. This is, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, this is a big plant. It's a plantation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mike Duggan. It's a plantation, and they need people like you to help them carry the water.
So you're comparing Donald Trump and Mike Duggan now? That's an interesting comparison.
Yeah. What's the difference? I mean, he doesn't come on. He doesn't. Mike Duggan didn't come on David Bullock's show. He came on Nolan Finley's show.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I don't understand. Well, because this is the thing. I mean, David Bullock's a good friend of mine, but he spends half the show attacking the
president. Why didn't he show up to the town hall meeting? He does.
Oh, you talking about this poverty town hall meeting? Oh, let me jump in on that, because it was already from the beginning to the end of that, it was slanted against him. It was a political hit waiting to happen. Why would he show up for that? Because there is no government solution to poverty. You're just falling into the tricks of Coleman Young going for that. There is no government solution to poverty. Why would Mike Duggan come in there and pretend there is one?
I wouldn't expect you to do anything but protect Mike Duggan and protect.
Well, that's interesting. Mike Duggan is a Democrat, so why am I defending him? Isn't it right is right and wrong is wrong? I mean, that's just how I look at it. And I want to apologize for people that are calling in right now.
Donald Trump he said if the police are going to arrest people, there's nothing wrong with you all roughing them up. Yeah, what is that?
I didn't think that was a something to even joke about with a room full of police officers. I agree. I can agree with you on that. But again, that's that part I can agree with you on. I mean, see, this is the problem I have when I want to. I guess sometimes I want to wrap my arms around my liberal friends and tell them Donald Trump does say some pretty wild stuff sometimes, but it's not going anywhere because again, in America we have checks and balances of a constitution. We have Congress. We have senators. So if he wants to talk a little bit of smack from time to time, let him. He's not hurting anybody doing that. That's not hurting anybody. Just like him tossing out the paper towel in Puerto Rico. These media folks lost their mind as if he did something horrible to those people. But that's because, again, the media, they get more credit for just talking about Donald Trump. That's what it comes down to.
Wayne Bradley, I wouldn't expect you to say anything any different, but protect the slave master. That's why they got you. That's why they got you in here, because you're really like you seem like you're more like a white man than black skin. I wouldn't expect. That's how I look at it. You and Walter.
Oh man! All right. Well, thank you, Keith. I'm okay with it. We all have opinions, and I don't mind you sharing yours. Thanks for calling in, my friend.
Have a good day.
You have a blessed day too, sir. All right, man. Well, I'm glad to be back on the radio again, and I'm glad to have 5 to 7. But I think already this week I've been called white. I've been questioned about being black. I don't know. Whatever. I can't argue this fact with people. I am as black as they come. Let's go to Marcia on the line. Marcia.
Good morning. I would like for the people to call the Congress, those nuts, cut $800 billion out of all the social programs. They are cutting Medicare. Are your parents on Medicare?
Pardon me?
Are your parents on Medicare?
Are my parents? Yeah, my mother's a retiree, but my dad is still working. So yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, the Republicans are cutting that, and we need to call our Congress people to ask them to reject that agenda that the Republicans got on the table for doing the American people in. That's what is most important. Even now, Warren Buffett says it's time for single payer.
Well, why doesn't Warren Buffett put up a good portion of the money and let's get that process started then, if he believes in it so much?
Well, you know what? Why don't we do what Japan has? Japan has single payer. Europe, Finland, all the European countries, all the countries that we bagged military got single payer. Why is it good for them and not good for the American people?
I just think I always go back to the size of our country and the expenses that we have compared to some of these small countries that you're talking about.
Now, what about $700 billion for the military?
I think you could definitely shave off. You can always shave off a couple dollars off the billions for the military and find other programs you could spend the money on. There's no question about that. We are big spenders in America when it comes to the military. No question about it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Bernie Sanders 2020.
I know. Bernie Sanders 2020. He's going to be like 95 years old. Y'all going to have to wheel him out there, but he Bernie Sanders 2020. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'm 70 years old, and then, he's not as nearly as intelligent as Bernie Sanders is. He's not trying to do American people harm. We want to come up to the level of all the other European countries here and give Americans. Do you think 29 million people should be without health care? And then you act like you love Jesus and love God, and then 29 million people in America not having health care?
No, wait a minute. You know what? I gotta correct what you're saying here. 29 million people might not have health insurance. There's access to health care. And I think that's what we have to improve is the access and the quality of the health care. Health insurance is a money scheme. And that's why our costs are so expensive anyway in America when it comes to health care. There are other direct health care models that we could use here in America that are free market principles, that we don't have to concede everything over to the government.
For example, what?
A direct physician relationship where you pay $150 a month, $200 a month to that doctor, where you can go in there as many times as you want and maybe put more of your money into a catastrophic fund for when something really goes wrong. Because the reality is that the reason why this current system is failing is because you're asking a bunch of 25, 18 to 30-year-olds who are healthy, who don't go to the hospital, who don't need the insurance. They're being forced to pay an exorbitant amount of money, and they rather not pay it. They rather pay the fine. And again, that's where your Obamacare is going to crumble, because people are opting out to pay the fine because it's cheaper than getting health insurance that they don't need. And so that's why you have to make it a solution where it addresses the people that need the help, because right, we don't want people, this is America, we don't want people to suffer. But it's a difference between having health insurance and having good access to health care. And I think that's the discussion we need to be having.
We need to take corporations out of health care, period, and we could have Medicare for all. Okay. My second point is that you want to I saw a piece that came across there that Americans, we spend billions of dollars destroying life on this earth. See, that's why I know I'm on the wrong planet. But then we spend billions of dollars trying to find life on Mars. Mm-hmm. Is that sensible? That we are destroying life on this planet and trying to spend billions of dollars to find life on Mars.
Well, it's just like any exploration we've done before. Once we
we're killing the planet. We're killing people through the environment, policies and things, and America leads the charge on killing people. Do you trust Donald Trump with the nuclear code? This man keeps us on edge. I'm updating.
He doesn't keep me on edge. He keeps our enemies on edge, and I like that. I don't have a problem with that.
He is. I don't mind about being Republicans. No different than a Republican and Democrat. We are Bernie-crats. We are the only ones who are different from you people. We love.
Whoa! I stood with Rand. Let's. We're all not in one bunch here, Marcy. I got to remind you that there's a lot of Republicans that supported guys like Rand Paul that aren't just itching to go to every war, but they also want, free market solutions and not socialism that the Bernie crowd that you guys seem to be okay with. So that's just a different perspective, but I appreciate you calling in this morning, thanks for listening in.
Because I got two more points to make about that. Eisenhower, my father was an Eisenhower Republican.
Okay.
And so therefore I can deal with an Eisenhower Republican because he said be aware of the military-industrial complex. Okay.
No question about it.
I have my points. You should look up Eisenhower type of Republican and see how brilliant Eisenhower on some of his Republican policies.
Okay. Thank you, Marcia. All right, so we're going to go to Michael. I think I've already talked to Michael once today, but Michael's back on. Thanks for calling in, Michael.
Yeah, you talked to me once, but what inspires me to call back in is the whole birther thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know, Wayne, who was the original birther. The original birther was George Bush, and he said that John McCain could not run for president because he was born in the Panama Canal, and the senators confirmed that he was a naturalized citizen. Was that racism when he wanted John McCain not to run? See, we as black folks, we turn everything into race.
We go emotional. It's so easy. It's so easy to get us to go everything a race issue. Everything.
Yeah, even when we run for the highest office of the land, politics is a dirty game.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump said that he wasn't born here, but guess what? Barack Obama's biographer said that he wasn't born here until the week before he ran for an election. He thought it would be exotic to say that Barack Obama was born in Kenya. So in all of his books in publishing, he was listed as not being born in America. So for them to say that it was only racism why they challenged where he was born when he allowed his biographer to say that he wasn't born in America just shows that most black people, like you said, we let the emotion hit us of white people are racist. Okay, what do the Democrats give you? Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, D.C., terrible schools. But guess what? We know we failed you, but the Republicans are racist. Oh, yeah, They switched sides. That's what happened. The party switched. I did extensive research on this, Wayne. There was no switching the parties. The Democrats are the same people. They just changed who they discriminated against. Instead of putting black people in chains, now they kill the unborn. And if I can make one last point.
Go ahead.
California, which is the bastion of liberalism, right?
We're going to have to liberate that place one day. I guarantee you. America's going to have to go and pull California out the abyss before it's all over the way they're going out there.
Now, check this out. They decided that they want to give Bernie Sanders Medicare for all. Now, California's budget each year is $175 billion. They estimated just to give the 33 million people in California health care that is paid for by the California government would be between $330 and $450 billion a year. And guess what liberal, crazy California said? We cannot afford Medicare for all. So it's not that we're uncompassionate as Christians. We simply say that our government was not set up to take from Paul and give to somebody else.
That's right.
And
even God wants us to be good stewards of our money.
Bankrupt this country.
Yep, I agree. I agree. Even God wants us to be good stewards of our money. So I apply that to government too. He wants you to. I want the government to be good stewards of the money, and that's not. And government can't barely do that anyway. But that's definitely not the way to do it. So, Michael, thank you for calling back in. I appreciate you listening to the show this morning. Okay. All right.
Sir.
All right. We're gonna go to Tim. Tim, thanks for calling in.
Well, that Michael, he's got it going on, don't he?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
You do too, Wayne.
Thank you, Tim.
Regarding the health care, Marcia, she's just kind of shooting herself in the foot. If we ever went to single payer, I mean, they already.
We're pretty close to it. Let's not pretend we're not almost. We're getting pretty close to it.
You're right.
You know,
you're right. But Bernie's plan would add $36 trillion to our national debt. And what happens is my father-in-law just passed away. He was a neurosurgeon, and he had his own practice Tuesdays and Thursdays. He'd help couples have a baby.
Okay.
And he paid $85,000 a year for malpractice insurance. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is we're going to lose our doctors if we go to single payer. No more hip replacements, no more rotator cuffs. You're going to get the blue pill or the red pill. Our health care will be reduced in half. Forget the insurance. We will not get the care that we all need. It has to be free market.
I agree.
It has to be transparent.
Only way you can get costs down is if you're making these guys compete against each other.
What about Europe? Europe has a $250,000, when it comes to lawsuits. That's the maximum you can. So tort reform is very important. And if you lose the case, you have to pay the court costs. There's so many things selling across state lines. Again, going into McDonald's, looking at a menu, make these people compete, and that naturally is the free market will reduce our costs. It's that simple. Single payer, Marcia, I'm telling you, your health care will go down tremendously.
That's the whole thing, Tim, is that, the places that have this single payer system and have socialized medicine, they still come to America when it's an emergency, when it's something they need done immediately. They don't want to be in a lottery system, or they don't want to be essentially waiting forever for what you consider urgent kind of care. They come to America. And I think that's something that people ought to pay attention to when they're calling for what I consider socialized health care and experiments on our health here in America. I mean, that's just not how we operate here in America. And I think that's something that, again, the scope and the size and the expense of 300+ million people in America is a lot different than maybe 20 million people in some of these European countries, and that's a more manageable figure. I mean, if you went state by state, there probably are some states that could manage a single-payer system on their if it was individualized. And so maybe in that state, that's the option for you. But I don't think that overall 300 million people in America could be under a single-payer system and a one-size-fits-all type of health care plan. I just think that you're going down a path of destruction, and you're going to have a bunch of people wishing that they could go back to the old system if we went to a single-payer socialized health care plan. You definitely need the free markets. You need to make these companies compete against each other. And I think that is where we get you start benefiting the people.
Yeah, we need to that money pipeline, like you said, it is so corrupt. Just like our government, that money, when you pay your deductible, you walk out of the office, you don't know where that money's going, what's happening. It is a scam played on us. We could probably reduce our costs in half if the people would get involved and know what's going on. Because it truly is. People are getting rich, and the poor are getting poorer. Half the country's rich, half the country's poor. What do? We put the same people in charge of our Treasury and Federal Reserve as the last three presidents. And, speak about Harvard. Al talked about Obama went to Harvard. Last 3 or 4, 10 presidents went to Harvard.
Right.
Look at the shape of this country.
No, I agree. Don't get me started on the elite, because that's the elite class is all one. It's not really Republican or Democrat on that.
I think Al is smarter than people from Harvard.
I agree. Well, thank you, Tim, for calling in and listening to the show on the Wayne Bradley Show. We're going to go to Kenny. Kenny is on the line.
Good morning, man. Y'all need to stop it. Every time a black person speaks on another race, it's racist. This country was built on racism. I don't know how old you are, and I know what area you came from. Mm-hmm. We stayed over there on Pinehurst by Mumford. So right. I know the hood, but I'm much older than you. Every time we speak on something, it's racist.
I didn't say every time. I just think that we get. I think we get pulled into scenarios where race is the problem.
You won't let me speak. Michael called in and said that we always use a race card. They've been using the race card against us since we've been born in this country, man. Wake up and y'all quit. Keep it real. I'm a real person. I'm from the streets as well as you and before you. I'm from the real streets, from the Brewsters and all that. Y'all talking about this racist. That's what pisses me off. I don't mind you saying stuff, but let's keep it real when you say stuff about black folks. They've been using race cards against us when I couldn't get jobs because of the color of my skin. And time we say something about racism, then another race or the white folk, y'all want to say we using the race card. You're darn right we using it because that's the card they dealt us when we was coming up and still doing it. And they'll get rid of you as fast as they got rid of Steve Hood. So don't say there's no race card, man. We've been paying taxes and paying these political rich people insurance that's in politics for years, and then they want to give us some garbage and stuff, but they got the best health care off of tax dollars back. So y'all, let's keep it real when we speak on stuff. And I'm dropping the mic behind that.
All right. Thank you, Kenny, for calling in. All right. We got another caller here we're going to bring onto the air. We got Jeff. Jennifer. Sorry about that, Jennifer. Welcome to the show.
It's Jennifer.
Sorry about that,
Hello?
Jennifer. I apologize.
No worries. It's Jennifer Greening. No, I'm sitting here laughing because I have one of the easiest names in the world, I think, but it makes me laugh. It's an easy name and it's a complicated name.
No, well, I got these headphones on. I couldn't hear. She was kind of typing in, so I apologize. How are you doing this morning?
No worries. I'm on a landline, which is like a landline's not working.
I didn't know they still had landlines nowadays.
No, my parents have a landline.
That's awesome.
Was the previous caller's name Kenny?
Yes.
I love Kenny, and you know what? Kenny reminds me of my father, but my father is white, but he thinks he's Fred Sanford. Again, we're back to this Can we talk about, well, no, and I agree with a lot of the things Kenny said, yet I couldn't be more different from him. Is that a good thing or a bad thing in today's racial civil war? Like,
we're all human beings. Well, that's how I look at it.
Ding, 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 ding. Are you a fan of Seinfeld, Wayne?
I can't say I'm a big fan of. My brother was a big fan. He always talked about it, but I'm
older brother or younger brother? This is interesting. My younger brother hates it, but I love it.
He's younger than me, but it's only by 2 years. So he was always the one talking about how I'm missing out on Seinfeld. But I don't watch a lot of sitcom TV. I don't have much of a life, I must admit.
Well, then what do you do all day?
Work, and then when I finally get done with work, I play with my kids for a little while, and I'm back to sleep.
Okay, there you go. And I feel like you're a few years older than me. So you were, like, just because you're maybe 3 years older than me when Seinfeld premiered, maybe you had just gotten married. But for me, it was my first year of college, and then it was this weird show in college where we were like, New York City is a magical place, but it was so weird and funny. Like, it was my weird sense of humor. So, but then I lived in New York City for 9 years, and you know what? That much later, New York couldn't be more the same yet less, I don't know. And my first apartment in New York was a block away from the actual ding-ding soup Nazi. No joke.
No soup for you. I know that guy. I know that.
Well, no, Wayne, no joke, Bible. It happened to my Asian coworker, but not me. We were dying laughing. That was 14 years ago, Wayne. Still to this day, and now her children watch it. Her oldest is like 11. He goes, Mom, that's not real. She goes, no, I was Elaine. And he goes, but we're Asian. She goes, doesn't matter. I was so awkward.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Like I said, maybe one of these days I'll check out a little bit.
No, well, guess what? It's the 25th anniversary, so it's back. And there's one station, it is on 24/7. Have your kids watch it. Like, I think they'd find it funny.
All right.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I'm about to go. I'm actually about to go to a break here, Jennifer, because I've got some people coming in here. But listening to these debates, do you see where people are kind of divided on different?
Okay. No, the headline is, and I was up super early this morning, but I've been doing disaster recovery in Farmington Hills because it is pouring. Nothing's flooded yet. Not the basement, not our well, nothing. But like, it is going to rain all day long. Make it rain. And tomorrow is the Civil War in Ann Arbor. So let's talk about what's appropriate to say, race, man, woman, black, white. There are so many complicated issues we're dealing with this weekend. What are they going to do for the game tomorrow? How about that with security? There's a good topic.
Oh, no.
I'm curious to...
I'm about to go to the break. We're going to end this with one thing. There's only one way to end this. Go green, go white.
Yes.
Michigan State. That's it.
And then my last name, go green, go greening.
That's right, go greening. You're listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 910 a.m., your superstation. Thanks for calling in, Jennifer. You enjoy the weekend. We'll be back on the break. We're going to actually talk some things that are non-political, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So we'll be back in a moment.
What you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is.
Great news. 910 AM Superstation is growing, and you can watch as well as listen anywhere you go. The 910 AM Superstation app is now supported on iPhone, iPad, Android phone, Android tablet, Amazon Kindle Fire, Windows Phone, Apple TV, and Roku. 910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. .910 AM Superstation. We're the voice of facts.
Folks, I don't care what your position is about the incident that involved Virgil Smith and his ex-wife. The fact of the matter is a plea deal was reached, and young Mr. Smith honored every condition of his probation. He had to resign from the office that he held at the time he took his plea deal, and that was it. When the prosecutor's office tried to say, okay, and you can't run again, almost sounds like the sentence they gave me. They said, wait, we won't want you off the bench, and we're going to keep you from running for the next trillion years. But the circuit court said, no, No, you can say that he leaves office. You can say that he goes to jail. You can say that he pays the fine. You can say that he's on probation, but that's it. You cannot reduce a criminal penalty, a sentence, or a fee in exchange for a civil agreement to not run again for public office. So Virgil Smith is absolutely legally able to run for office.
We are 910 AM Superstation. Every weeknight at 9 p.m. is something new and something fresh.
This is Todd Corser, and I want you to check out my show. Listen in and call every week as we explore government and hot topics. Tune in, raw and uncut.
This is attorney Michael Schwartz at 910 AM Superstation, and you can hear me every Tuesday night starting at 9 p.m.
Hello, Detroit. This is attorney Crystal Crittenden, and please tune in to my new show, The Truth Matters, on 910 AM Superstation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charlene Mitchell, your host of Mind Your Business. Listen to my show live every Thursday from 9 to 11 p.m.
I'm Reverend Maya Lisa Reynolds, inviting you to listen to Mama Maya Speaks Friday evenings from 9 until 11 p.m., discussing education, motivation, and inspiration on Superstation 910 AM.
Different names, different voices, but the same energy. 910 AM Superstation, the voice of Detroit. Be sure to catch Doing the D with Alexander Zonchek right here on 910 AM Superstation.
And you know what that means? Lots of cool stuff. If you love gospel and jazz and Motown cruises and holiday festival concerts in Monroe, we've got it all right here for you.
I want to say thank you for all you do, all you give us. We, your fans, we just love you. And you know.
I appreciate that, Phyllis. Thank you so much. It's uncomfortable to get compliments to do something that you love doing so much, but I appreciate it.
The voice of Detroit, Sundays from 5 to 7 p.m. 910 AM Superstation. When you're looking to hear the truth, we talk about it.
Because here's the thing. If you really want to know the truth about it, downtown, midtown, Corktown, Techtown, all those towns are already taken. They're already gone. They're gone. And the bottom line right now is when I look around Detroit, I look at it being gentrified. I look at black folk being pushed out. I look at black schools closing down. I look at black business owners being pushed out. I look at black residents, even senior citizens who've been here for 40 and 50 years being pushed out of their homes. They're doing it by way of overtaxing them down at the county taxes. They're doing it by way of turning the water bills up high. And what I'm saying to you is we need people to not say we're fighting. We need people to win.
This is Radio Our Way, the Detroit way. .910 AM Superstation is the voice of the people. Don't believe me? Just listen.
I listen all the time. Great radio personalities.
The new mobile site is incredible. With the visual live feed, this is a whole new level for community broadcasting. I'm also very impressed with the Bible section present both in a written and audio format. 910 AM has really stepped it up to a whole new level.
Tune in, call in, and don't forget to find us on social media. 910 AM Superstation is in a league of its own. We are the only talk radio station in the Metro Detroit area sensitive to the African American community.
Make sure you join us on what station?
910 AM the Superstation.
910 AM.
910 AM. On 910 AM Superstation.
910 AM Superstation, Metro Detroit's only African American based talk radio station.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show, conservative political radio, giving you what you need to know. Listen up, it's the Wayne Bradley Show. That's what it is. It's the Wayne Bradley.
And welcome back to the Wayne Bradley Show here on 910 AM, your superstation. Been having a good, lively discussion about politics, but you know what? And I was thinking of how we could do things on Fridays to maybe get folks from the community more involved to talk about things we're doing. And I just had a wonderful opportunity. A gentleman by the name of Lloyd Banks called me and asked me, could I do promote this event coming up and it's honoring industry leaders and influencers here in Detroit. And I looked at the list and I said, wow, I know a lot of good folks on this list. So I'm going to bring in a good friend of mine, Lloyd. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Wayne.
Let's talk more about this event, the Made Man Detroit, honoring industry leaders and influencers. How did this event come up? And just give me some more. We got some great guests in here as well, so you can introduce everyone as well.
Definitely. Thanks, Wayne, for having us. I'm excited about this project. This is a national initiative called the Made Man. We're on an 11-city tour, and we are recognizing African-American males in each of these cities. We go around and recognize 50-plus African-American men who have major achievements in their careers. Also for men that have given back to the community. And Banks & Company, along with the founder, Kai Deli, is proud to be here to be able to present this opportunity. In addition, we have our partnership with 100 Black Men of America.
Okay.
And in each of our cities, we have our local 100 Black Men, which is, I'm happy to say Bill Luce is here as president of 100 Black Men. And he's an honoree as well. And we have Brian Howard as well, who's an honoree. And I want them to talk about a little bit about, what the Made Man means to them.
Well, please, let's hear more about it.
Well, great. As Lloyd said, this is an 11-city effort that's on the part of 100 Black Men of America in conjunction with Kai Daly from Blue Point Media. And it's really designed to highlight the accomplishments of African-American men from whatever endeavors, civic, philanthropic, the business community, spiritual community, etc., because we want to dictate what the narrative is around African-American men to show that we come from a very diverse set of industries, diverse careers, and we want to really begin to change that narrative. Additionally, there are a couple of other parts to this. We have a mentoring part where we're actually going to spend some time, or the honorees are going to spend time with some young men. We're going over to Cass Tech for about an hour and do some roundtables.
Okay.
Because a lot of our young men don't get an opportunity to see African-American men of this stature who are doing things that they may not be aware of.
Right,
And
no
again,
question.
Our motto in the 100 is what they see is what they'll be. Right? And then it tops off that evening with a reception from 6 to 9 at the Charles Wright Museum of African American History.
Excellent. I do think that is something that the narrative of how great Black men are doing in this country and the contributions that we're making. You're actually being honored at this event as well, right?
Yes, I am. I am excited because this is an opportunity to, as Bill said, show what we as Black men are doing in the community. And it's funny because, working with young Black men, a lot of times they don't see that man who in that professional role that wears a suit. All they see as a role model is, the reality TV and the rappers and things like that.
I was just about to say the one thing I noticed on here. I was trying to see if I could find anybody that was a rapper or a athlete on here. And I'm not knocking those because, they have, they make contributions. But I think that's not as realistic as saying, look at all these gentlemen here. Probably all went to college, got their education, figured out a path that they wanted to take for success. And I think that's something that we can relate to all of our young men. And so I commend you on that. And when you're talking to young men, do you find that that's the experience that they, like you said, they're looking more at the reality TV stars and the hoopers and the rappers in particular as the role models? How important is it that we use, as businessmen and of that nature and organizers, that we let our young men know that this is another path you can follow to success?
You know what I found? A lot of times young men don't care until they see that someone else does. And that's the key as Black men that are in our positions. When we give back and they see that we really care, that's when that generation starts to open up and say, wow, this may be a way that I want to go. And they're going to start to listen and they're going to be more open and you can just pour into them. And that's when we start to build the next generation of leaders.
You should introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Brian Howard, and I'm the program facilitator with Winning Futures, and I'm also the director of corporate relations for the National Black NBA Detroit chapter.
Yeah, and Brian is one of our honorees, and what he says is very true. And Winning Futures is another mentoring program. 100 Black Men there are a number of mentoring programs available.
Right.
And we're all kind of about the same thing, and that's making a difference on the young men that are coming up today.
Right.
Because, again, what they see is what they'll be, and they don't see men who are doing what some of these men are doing, right?
And more importantly, they're taking the time out to mentor.
Yes, exactly.
You know my dad.
Without question.
I was about to say, and he
was a mentor of mine.
But now at home, he would jokingly say, "I don't have time to mentor at home," and and he'll tell you that to this day. He mentored people in the professional world, but at home he was too busy. And so as I grew up, I got mentored as well by other businessmen in the community, and it's been critical, I believe, to my success, and also giving you something to look up to in terms of just successful entrepreneurs and businessmen, because my dad was strict. So I didn't grow up thinking like, oh yeah, I just got to be like my dad, but he set some standards and some regulations that were in place to get there. But it's so important to have mentors that give you step by step, take you to, showing you how to do, interview correctly, how to do your tie.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. We have a competition. We run a leadership academy. We have about 25, 30 young men in our mentoring program. Mm-hmm. We used to be in high school. We dropped down to middle school because we felt we could make a better impact.
You got to get them before they even get to high school.
Bingo.
Yep.
And we have this tie-tying competition, right? And it's interesting when you give them a challenge, right? These young men step up to it.
Right.
A lot of times I don't think we ask enough of them because they're capable.
Yep.
If you ask them,
gotta
and if
push
you
them.
show them,
you got to push them a little
right,
bit.
and guide them,
right.
They're very capable.
So, Wayne, that's why this is so important. So we're not only recognizing these men, and I want to make sure people understand it's Tuesday, October 17th at 6 p.m. at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, but the mentoring component is huge. We also do a suit drive.
Bingo.
So we ask each of the men that we're honoring, each of the men to come and bring a suit, a gently used or gently worn suit, so that they can pass it on to another young man that is in need of a suit. So this is an entire national effort that we do. We just came off the heels of Washington, D.C. It was exciting. And now we're here in Detroit. I'm part of the national team. So to be here in my hometown to be able to put this on is amazing. And so we're excited about it.
If someone wanted to go to this event, how do they get the information?
They can simply go to themademan.org. And once you go on themademan.org, you highlight Detroit, and you can purchase tickets there. Tickets are $50 per person. No one's making any money on this event. We're simply making sure that we put on a very nice event for all of these men that we're honoring and so we do everything on that same day. And
right.
So it's so important. We do mentoring in the morning. That evening is going to be a press conference, and then we're going to recognize these men. So tickets are $50 per person, themademan.org.
All right. I got to ask you, again, what do you get the most joy out of when you're doing the mentoring? What do you find is the most rewarding experience out of that? I'll let you start off, Mr. Howard.
For me, and I'll just tell a quick story. I had a young man my first year at Cass, and his mentor was a U of M grad, and he said, this is the first time I've ever seen a black man in a suit that really took time with me. And to fast forward 5 years later, he's now a teacher in Houston, and he called me and he said, my students now call me Mr. Jefferson, and I want to make a difference in their lives like my mentor made a difference in my life.
Excellent.
Yeah,
wow.
No, and similarly, I'm sure we could sit here and swap stories all day long because there are nuggets that happen along the way, and I'll try and piece together about two or three. Number one, we had a kid. It's interesting. One of our very first mentees names was Moses.
Okay.
It gets deep from here. Moses didn't have necessarily a good relationship with his dad. He came into our program, and he said to this day that he would not have graduated from high school, would not have gone to college had it not been for our involvement. Now, obviously, there were some other folks as well. Moses graduated from high school, went to college, came out of college, is now working and has come back to join our organization.
Wow. Awesome.
Right? Full circle. So,
that's what you want to see.
That's what you want to see, right? Yeah. We had another kid, right? We took him out on a field trip. We took him to a college. One of them was Wayne State University. Mm-hmm. We took this kid up on the 6th floor of a dormitory at Wayne State University. First, he'd never been out the 12-block radius of where he lives. Second, this kid's 16-year-old. He's never been in a building over 2 stories high.
Wow.
First time, right?
Wow.
So I mean, you get these pieces, right, little nuggets of where you expose them. And it's really about exposure and experience, right?
You got to get out of your.
You got to get out. You got to get your little environment.
It strikes me when I've talked to guys from California that live in Compton but have never been to the beach.
Bingo. Exactly.
You know, they've never been outside the small radius of their neighborhoods. It's like they need to see something other than what they're seeing. So
right.
I think that's critical. Getting young men to get to like the black college tours.
Yes,
that changed my world. Now I didn't get to go because I think it changed my world so much that that's all I was talking about. Where my parents were like, you know what, let's keep an eye on him and send him to Michigan State. But you know, when you get out of the neighborhood and you go see some things, it really does. It can change the way your outlook and where you want to go with your future.
Yeah, we got a kid now at U of M Flint.
Okay,
and again, kid was a bit of a knucklehead, for lack of a better word, right?
Yeah, wow.
But he graduated from high school, went to U of M Flint, came back after the first year, completely changed, right? Was talking differently, had a different outlook, ended up on the dean's list, ended up going to Dubai for a month, ended up going somewhere else overseas, all on U of M's nickel because he had excelled so well in college and was doing some kind of program. But again, it was just amazing to see the transformation.
You have to feel good when you see that you've made those kind of different impacts.
It's absolutely amazing. Two things, Wayne, I wanted to do. This is our as we go and do pre-publicity. This is our first stop, so I want to make sure we do one thing. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our founder, Kai Deli, who is a black woman. That actually founded the organization, and she founded it because she heard a different narrative out there, and she knew it was not true. And
black men, we get beat up every day,
every day,
from every angle, from whatever news story, we always getting beat up.
Exactly, and then because we're on your show, and this is our first stop, I want to make sure we can do some ticket giveaways if you like. We're willing, and I'm sure Bill would be okay with that.
Absolutely,
if we give away a couple of tickets to anyone that calls. Because we want to make sure Metro Detroit comes out and we're at a historical institution in the city of Detroit. So we want people there. It's going to be a great experience.
Well, I'll be back on the air on Sunday. So if you guys leave some tickets here, I'll promote that and let people know that there are some available tickets. I appreciate you coming in because again, we got to change the narrative.
We have to.
To me, that's half of it is the only successful black people that they push on the community. Are rappers and athletes.
Yeah.
And so when you see some of these businessmen, like there was they always talk about this, the hedge fund guy,
right.
And he's the richest black man in America, but we don't even know his name. That's even right now, as I'm saying it, is because we don't promote that.
Exactly.
That's right.
We promote our athletes and as if that's the only path out. So I commend you on doing this event and also honoring what I consider some of the real stakeholders in the community. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Wayne. So, again, it's Tuesday, October 17th at 6 p.m. Tickets are $50 for each person, and it's themademan.org in order to purchase tickets.
All right. Well, thank you for all of you for coming out. If anybody wants to leave any parting words or anything.
No, I hope the community will come out and support our chance to recognize again, I almost feel bad because I'm on the list. I did not nominate myself. Let me just be clear, okay? But it is a good opportunity for us to come out and recognize these men that oftentimes don't get the recognition that they deserve.
All right.
And I'll just do a plug for Bill and myself. We need more black men to step up and answer the call because when the call goes out for mentoring, and I'm sure people have heard this before, the first people to answer are white women.
That's right.
And for me, until you know what it's like to have your lights turned off or go through some of the things that the young black men are going through, they need a black man to help them with those things. So that's why mentoring and what we do with 100 Black Men and Winning Futures is so important.
Amen.
Amen. Well, thank you again, gentlemen, for coming in. It's been pleasant talking something outside of politics for the last half an hour. You know, no one's arguing here. We're all talking positive stuff, and I appreciate that. I think you guys given me a little more of a format to do on Fridays, so I can ride out on Fridays feeling good, talking about quality things that are helping the community and people that are actually involved doing the right thing. So thank you very much.
Congratulations to you, Wayne, on your
my
show
pleasure.
Time slot.
Thank you very much. All right, so we're wrapping up here. We got a few more minutes here. I I'm not going to call you out on what we were talking about before we came in here. You said you were a veteran. You said you were a veteran. And so I just got to ask, because we've had people calling in for the last hour. What is your take on the whole Colin Kaepernick situation and the knee?
Well, let me set the stage. 20-year military veteran, Kuwait, Iraq, Somalia. I've done the rounds. Personally, I don't have a problem with it because he's not disrespecting the flag. His issue has been so twisted.
Oh, man.
It started out as a movement to just bring awareness and to start the discussion, but now it's, he's disrespecting the flag and people die for the flag.
The discussion has went to another place. That's why I kind of, in my world of politics, I almost got in trouble for taking his Kaepernick side in this situation. But now it shouldn't have ever been a political issue in the first place.
Bingo.
And I think that, it's unfortunate that, because I've talked to what I consider some decent folks, and they just can't get past the fact that he did it during the anthem and the flag. Now, to me, I think it's a lazy way of excusing yourself from having to deal with the issue.
Yes.
But it's just amazing to me that people get that bent out of shape about the anthem or the flag. If you're that mad about someone disrespecting the anthem or the flag, then you should be 3 times as mad about the citizens that are complaining that they're losing their civil rights. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's where the confusion is. This Sunday, take it there. This Sunday, they're going to be protesting. There will be veterans and conservatives protesting for standing up for the flag. So you're going to have protesters protesting the protesters. You're going to have other guys. You're going to have 2 sets of different protesters against the NFL that day. The guys that are supporting Colin Kaepernick and the guys that are against any of the players standing. And I never got why they were so mad at the Cowboys, because the Cowboys took the knee before the anthem and still stood up. So when they're mad still, what does that tell you? It's not really all just about the anthem, in my humble opinion.
It's never been about the anthem. It's about who gets to choose what the narrative is, right? And they have taken something and basically said, you're disrespecting the flag. No, we're not disrespecting the flag. You're not going to take this narrative and change it. That's not what it's about, right? But again, they want to take it there because it then dilutes the message.
It's the lazy way out of having to even deal with the scenario in the first place.
That's exactly right.
Well, we just got to I just had to ask you that. Like I said, I wanted to end on a positive note, but we have been talking about that for so much these last couple hours. So, again, thank you for coming out today. And again, one more time, let's finish up on that. Let's finish on the good stuff here. Amen. Go ahead and promote one more time the event.
So this event is called the Made Man Detroit. It is Tuesday, October 17th. From 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are $50 per person. And you can go to themademan.org. And we welcome, in addition to our honorees bringing suits in, we welcome individuals to come that night and bring a gently worn suit. We also have a press conference that's happening at 4 o'clock prior to the event itself. And we are going to make sure, again, at that event, we're going to recognize the achievements of all the honorees that are there and talk more about the program and some of the initiatives. This is a lot about what we're attempting to do is purpose and impact as well.
All right.
And that's mademan, all one word, .org.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think we have covered the gamut of issues today. We have tackled all the good and the bad.
Yes. We left out the ugly.
I think we've covered it today. Thank you again for coming out and talking about this. I will do my best to be there. It's been throwing me off now having this 5 to 7.
Getting up real early.
Woo.
So what time are you going to bed with?
2 in the morning. I've been off 2 and 2.5. And I told my dad, he's like, well, that's my every day. He no sympathy from my old man. So thank you again, and we're gonna wrap this show up here. I thought we ready to wrap up here, or we have a couple more minutes. I got 2 more minutes. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone that's been listening in. This is my first week back on full time on the air. I'll still be on Sundays. I'm gonna weigh that out now after doing 5 to 7 every morning. You know, I'm gonna weigh that out. We're gonna see how that goes. But it might just be pleasant to come in at 1 o'clock compared to my 5. I'm a studio rat. I got to admit that I love being in the studio and communicating with the folks. But 1 to 3 on Sundays is football season.
Right,
too.
I heard that.
So we're gonna see how that works out. But thank everyone that's listening. I'm gonna have now I'm podcasting on my show, so you can go to conservativebro.com later in the day and get us also on YouTube and SoundCloud and all these different formats to get the music, to get the show. So I appreciate everybody who's been listening. We will be back next week, 5 to 7 a.m. every day. Thank you for listening to the Wayne Bradley Show on 9:10 a.m. Your superstation. Have a great weekend.
It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Lyrical Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. It's the Wayne Bradley Show. Conservative Lyrical Radio. Giving you what you need to know. Listen up. It's the Wayne Bradley Show.
The Exogen Temporal Scanner Thermometer is the top choice of doctors, nurses, and other health professionals nationwide. It can be yours, too. Now at your local Club Warehouse and other fine retailers today.
Exogen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Can health insurance be more human, more compassionate? Can it be healthier? It's up to us to show our corner of the world how, and it starts with putting people first, a task we take deeply to heart. That's why we don't see our members as numbers. They're our neighbors, and we care about their health as much as they do. At Priority Health,